Hey, I am Guy from Uncubed, and today we are talking all things productivity and organization with Josh Zerkel, the Director of Global Community and Training at Evernote, and also a certified professional organizer.
Yes, I am both of those things.
Excellent. Well, tell me what a CPO does exactly.
Sure. Certified Professional Organizer is someone who has a passion for organization and productivity, who's gone through a series of courses and has taken an exam really to help small businesses, individuals, do all the things that go into being more productive, manage time, manage information, manage their clutter, so that they can get to focus on what's really important to them.
Yeah. I know personally in terms of organization, something that I would love to know more about is organizing my data. I feel like my computer is awash in files and folders that are from 3 computers ago that have been transferred over. Probably duplicate files up the wazoo. Are there tips, tricks, approaches that one can take to really help organize just the virtual data that's cluttering our lives?
Yeah, you'd mentioned something that I think many of us face now that none of us were expecting to, which is just an influx of information that lives in many places, comes from many directions, and that none of us are really taught how to deal with. So the thing that I typically recommend most is have a single place to store things as much as possible. For me, the choice is Evernote, but you could have a single shared drive or a space where you keep things. Really consolidate where things live because it makes it a lot easier to find those things later. So have a single home where you store your documents, you forward in important emails for safekeeping, where you clip things from the internet. Whatever you're capturing, whatever you're collecting, even if it comes from multiple computers that you've had over your lifetime, you can bring all those things into one space and then get rid of the things that you no longer need. That just makes it a lot easier to manage everything moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And how does that roll over into just simply organizing our life online? I mean, a lot of times I feel like I'm looking at 150 different websites. I've got 100 tabs open on my browser. Is there a way to kind of manage that purposefully without kind of losing my sense of FOMO?
Good question. I think all of us have that sense of FOMO because there is so much available to us. For me, what I typically recommend is being more deliberate about what you're doing at any given time. If you are finding yourself having like dozens of browser tabs open, chances are, unless you're researching some vast project, you're not actually using all the tabs at once. So you might want to use a tool like a tab killer where it saves your open tabs for reference later and focus on just the 3 or 4 that you're actually using in the moment. There's just too much information for all of us to manage in any one sitting with all of the options available. So I think really consolidating down to what you're focused on in that moment, whatever the project might be, makes things easier. It just makes it easier and feels better.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm also then curious about the idea of organization in the real world, let's call it. It's so often you see someone who's organized portrayed as a kind of OCD, Inspector Monk or whatever.
Yeah.
It always has this kind of, niggly kind of quality. What is it like to be a person who is organized without necessarily being obsessive about being organized?
I think there's a big misnomer that to be organized you have to be crazy, and you really don't. I'm like the lazy person's organizer. I have one simple to-do list for work, one simple to-do list for home. I'm not hyper-organized. I think it's easier and more effective if you organize to the level that gets the job done without going beyond. When I see people start getting into trouble is where they organize things to the nth degree, whether it's meticulously filing every single document or putting their closet in super order. I don't know that for most people that serves a real purpose. I think get it organized enough so that you feel better, that you feel in control, because that's really what we're going for, is a feeling of control over your stuff, whatever your stuff might be, whether it's paper or information or clothes or clutter, and then stop and ask yourself, is this enough? Do I feel better? Before really going far past that point where you're spending more time organizing than you're spending time living.
Do you own a label maker?
I do own a label maker. I do.
And how many items in your home would you say are at this moment labeled?
Only a few. So the things that I label are things that I can't see. So for instance, in my storage area, which is admittedly small, I live in San Francisco, I have a few bins. I can't see the contents inside, so I label what the contents are outside. But I don't label the shelves, I don't label what's inside of my spice rack. I don't find a purpose in that. I want to label things and I want to find things later that I can't otherwise see or access.
I'd imagine also in our daily routines, there's a way to organize them better.
Yeah, I'm actually a big proponent of templates and checklists in general. If there's an opportunity to routinize things or document things, I'm all over it. So for instance, I run the community at Evernote and we have a set of processes that as someone is onboarded into our official community programs they need to go through. I have a checklist for all the different things that I need to do and that I expect from them. And I just repeat that process over and over. And I don't have to worry about remembering what's in that laundry list of steps because I have it all written down. And I can check the boxes as I go through to indicate what's been done. So when I work with people and they're trying to figure out, like, how can I streamline my day, for instance, well, if you have a morning routine or a nighttime routine, make a checklist for all of those things that you want to make sure you do. And as you're building the habit of making those routines more effective, go down the list and modify it, add to it, check things off so that you're building that muscle. These things aren't automatic, and I think for most people they expect somehow they're magically supposed to wake up organized one day. It doesn't work that way. It takes some practice, and you can use the tools to help make that happen.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about productivity a little bit.
Yeah.
People seem like they're busier than ever before, or else they're coming up with excuses not to hang out with me. The US GDP is higher than it's ever been before. Is the obsession with productivity misplaced? Are we already kind of where we should be?
I don't know that there's a good answer to that because I don't know that anyone has defined what productivity is. It's different for each person. For some people, it's I need to get more things done. For others, it's I want to get more of the right things done. And for others, I want to see my calendar full. And it's different for each person. So for an individual saying, like, I'm super busy and I'm on top of all my stuff, if that feels productive to them and it feels good, great. I've worked with other people who say, I'm too busy, I'm focusing on the wrong things, help me figure out how to better manage my time to get in the right direction. I think there's a lot of people who are having trouble managing all of the different pieces that are part of modern life. We're never taught how to do it. And so I think for those people, they're not productive enough yet because they're not focused on doing the right things. For other people, they've got it down pat, but I would say the majority of people are still struggling. As a country, as a world, like, we're headed in the direction towards more production, but production is not the same as productivity.
Absolutely. I feel like so much of that comes down to the fact that we are so endlessly distracted at work, whether it's simply because we're in an open office space, or whether it's because we have these pinging notifications that are coming in every second from Slack and from email, or just because what's going on Twitter right now. Is that, how does one maintain a sense of engagement with both the office and the world without feeling that they're constantly distracted?
I think there has to be a balance that for each one of us that we have to strike between being responsive and doing deep work. For me, one of the things that I do is I recognize for certain types of work, I need to not be distracted. So I'll shut off all my notifications, I'll put on my headphones, and I'll typically go to a different space in the office where I'm less likely to be interrupted. Other times of the day, I'm happy to chat with a coworker when they stop by. So I think it's finding for each person, what is the rhythm of the work that you need to do? Are there certain times of the day where you really actually do need to be responsive? Great, have all your notifications on, sit in the open space. And are there other times where you need to actually do the deep work and focus? If so, see if you can go to a different spot, have some cue like headphones, listen to maybe nonverbal music without lyrics to help you focus. There are ways that you can balance the two. It can be challenging for sure, but it can be done.
And now, I have a weird question. I want to know about being productive while being lazy. Newton came up with gravity, presumably by sitting under a tree. There's got to be a way to say, I'm going to lie around the sofa all day, but still actually maybe not feel so guilty about it.
Yeah, I am the lazy person's organizer. I am not all about having every moment of every day scheduled. I like to get my stuff done in service of me lying on the sofa, actually. So I think it's being deliberate about what your objectives are. If your objective is to have every moment scheduled because you want to feel like that's the most empowered you can be, more power. But for me, I want to get all of the things done that I need to do, and they're all important in different ways, so that I can have time with my friends and family. If that means we're sitting watching a movie, great. To me, that's being productive because I'm doing the things I need to do in service of the other things that are important. And important is a value judgment. Like, spending time with my friends and family is important to me. Whether someone else would consider that productive is really up to them.
Yeah, so I almost feel like what you're saying is that to really kind of get to the nitty-gritty of personal productivity, there's almost a self-assessment that needs to take place first.
Yeah. People need to understand and think about, what does being productive mean to me? It will look different than it looks to you, and that's okay. Achieve a Zen-like state with that, because there is no one way that this should look.